Hello, everybody, and welcome. And welcome to Discover Rising Tides. I'm Jean Gallagher, and we're having a dance party before we started. So welcome to Discover Rising Tides, how the outside makes the inside better, where we explore the importance of the outdoors and maintaining life balance. And through this series, we'll be talking with women business owners to understand their journey. And as always, we're starting with our Healthy Living, Happy Life segment with Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hello, hello.
And Denise is an international best-selling author of Healthy Living, Happy Life, a practical path to finding a healthy lifestyle that works for you, and curator at Healthy Living, Healthy List. And this month's topic is Healthy Living, Happy Life from 30,000 Feet, how planning an organization leads to a fulfilling life. And then our second segment will be our main guest, Sue Berman, who is a residential real estate attorney, and I'm really excited to talk about her and her outside adventures. So let's get started, Denise.
Okay, so this 30,000 feet perspective thing. Truly, the way I talk to my clients about this is the first step in crafting that healthy, happy lifestyle that you want is to get rid of the things that you don't. And until we take that 30,000 foot perspective, kind of really look, from the outside, up here, looking down into life, we don't really know what the things are that we want to get rid of. We think we do, or we don't really necessarily know what the things are that we want. We think we do, but until we really start looking at it from this different perspective, we really just kind of go, oh, I think I want this, or I think I want that. And we just start dabbling and we get stuck in kind of the minutia of every day. And once we get stuck in that minutia, we really can't, decipher what it is, like what are the changes that we need to make, what's good, what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, it's hard. And when for me, the thought of getting rid of things, that brings anxiety, right? So I have to be in the right mood. I can't be attached to things. And then how do you decide what to get rid of, or how do you focus on what's needs to go?
Well, I think when we're looking at it this way, the first thing we want to look at are those kind of broad overarching patterns, those themes, those milestones that we have in life. And the things that I think of are more, okay, let's look at different aspects in our life. Instead of the minutia, which is getting rid of the things, the phone and the this and the that, let's really focus on the different elements in life that really make life worth living and make it that healthy, happy, fulfilling life. Because if we're not fulfilled, if we're not doing the things that we love, we're just kind of going through the motions. And I find so many people are just going through the motions day after day, year after year. And at some point, things kind of just either fall apart or we have a bad health scare. And that's kind of when people go, okay, I got to make some changes. I got to look at this differently. So by looking at things differently today, starting today, we can, eliminate those challenges. And so some of the areas, number one, of course, in my world is your health and wellness. What needs to go there? What do you need to bring in? That's a big, I always kind of laugh, this is a little bit of a minutia, so I apologize, but like what needs to go, bags of Doritos and chips and all of those things, not that they need to go completely, but those are some of the things that, when we're looking at this from the big scale, when you look in your pantry, is everything, box bags, cans of, canned soup and all those kinds of things. So that's kind of what I mean more, what needs to go.
And it's easy to get stuck in a habit. And so it's easy. So much you're talking about is really habit driven. And also the bags of Doritos and things that can also be the snack food can be habit driven as well. And then all of a sudden you don't realize how much you're eating of it until you remove it out of the equation.
Right. Well, especially things like chips, it does say on the bag how many is at an actual serving.
3?
Probably. But how many of us actually go, oh, it's only 3 as a serving. Let me pull out 1, 2, 3. Okay. Some of us, I can get a little crazy. I may do that, but normal people don't. And I don't want people to really get into that kind of minutia, because that just brings a whole new level of anxiety. We don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, again, want to look at this in the big picture. For example, when I was growing up and my mom went food shopping, she bought one bag of potato chips, and that was for the entire week. And that was for me and my sister and my dad and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And more than likely, my mom probably didn't get any. So those are the kind of things, when we're looking at that big picture, what needs to go, what are those habits that we need to kind of address, and I'll get into a little bit more in a little bit, how to kind of work on that. Mm-hmm. So the first thing, one, health and wellness. What are some of the other categories? Personal growth and learning. Mm-hmm. We should be learning something new every day. Our relationships, are they meaningful? Are they draining? Are they uplifting? What are your core values and purpose in life? How often do you talk to a client and they're lost? They're not even sure what their core values are anymore, and what their purpose on this earth is. And I don't necessarily mean we have to have this big, this purpose in life, but we have to have some purpose. Why are we getting up in the morning? And then, of course, we mentioned patterns and habits. That's kind of a big part of that health and wellness piece, but it also affects the personal growth and values and all of that too. And then I think the last piece to me is impact and contribution. Whether it's, are you impacting your family and your friends in a positive way? Are you affecting your community? What is your contribution? Or are you contributing? So those are the areas that I think those are that looking at that 30,000 foot perspective. Those are the pieces that I want people to look at.
I really like the last one a lot because it's something that people don't talk about. But you can actually use that as a springboard to help the other three areas.
Absolutely.
How are you showing up in your relationship, or how are you showing up in your personal growth, or how are you showing up for your health and wellness? And by maybe taking that little thought on it can help you change your habits, or help you recognize where just a couple of habit changes are going to positively affect those areas.
Absolutely. You make a very good point. It's actually recognizing that you have to recognize it first. Mm-hmm. If we're just kind of going through and glossing over and not recognizing what those habits are, healthy or unhealthy, we just keep doing the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. And it really is when we step back and do some self-reflection that we see these patterns. And I really hate to, and I say it too often, and I really need to get away from good habit, bad habit, healthy habit, not so healthy habit, or unhealthy habit, not so much good and bad.
Right.
But we can always get better. All of us can get better. And then once we recognize that there is a pattern, what do we do to change that pattern, to disrupt it?
That can be the hard part, but if you've recognized it, then you have to decide how much you really want to. The motivation piece, or what is going to keep you motivated to remember, this is a great idea today, but next Wednesday, what's going to remind me to do this? Because that's one of the things that I struggle with, really great for a few days. And then all of a sudden you realize that you're back on the not so productive wagon.
And I actually have a way to help you get on the wagon and stay on the wagon, 80 to 90% of the time. Because let's be real, nobody's perfect. Life happens. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I call P3, or the 3 Ps: plan, prioritize, and prepare. So 3 Ps: planning. Without a plan, we're just kind of going at everything kind of willy-nilly. Kind of like if you're driving someplace, you need to have a plan. How are you going to get there? So what I always recommend is to take a look at the different categories that we just talked about. And you may have a different one. You may have some of your own. And then consider what you want your life to look like in those areas. And at that point, you can start to cultivate a plan. Whether it's in your head first, and then I write everything down. I love pen and paper. you know.
It makes it more real. It's easy to get stuck in your head, or you forget what you were thinking about, those great ideas that only show up in the shower.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, please do keep a pen and pad in your bathroom. I know I do. For that reason, there's always something that I'm like, I gotta write that down. And as soon if I walk out of the room, and especially if husband's still home, it's gone. The idea's gone. So planning, that plan is really essential. And then of course, looking at all of those things, we need to prioritize the plan. Like, okay, these are the areas that I want to focus on. And maybe it's 3 out of the 8 that I mentioned. Or 9, I'm not sure how many I mentioned. And then to prioritize them, what makes most sense to you, not to everybody else, because we all do that. I want to be healthy for my sister, my father, my this. How about be healthy for me first? So, one of the things do you crave deeper, meaningful relationships? So then if that's your number one priority, that's what you start to kind of focus more on your plan on. And this is something, this is Denise, the healthy living liaison here saying this. If you have a health condition, that to me, that really needs to be addressed, that to me is always priority number one. It's making sure you're talking with your medical professional. It's making sure that you're eating real food and you're doing all of those things that you need to. And maybe right now you're not, but that's really, again, where that plan and the prioritizing needs to come in. I'm trying to think who said it. I think it was Stephen Covey that said, if you're too busy to set aside time for priorities, then you're busy doing the wrong thing. And how many of us are always busy doing something else?
We spend a lot of time being busy without accomplishing anything or anything to show for it, because it feels like we're supposed to be doing something. I catch myself doing that even when I'm working. I'm like, well, does what I'm doing really serving for where I need to be? And quite often the answer is no. But I'm just doing busy work because it's what I'm supposed to do.
Right. I find myself I found yesterday I had one thing that I wanted to work on, and I love, the book, The One Thing. And yesterday I did not do the one thing. I did all the dumb little
other things,
like you're saying. And again, had I gone back to my priorities, and again, like I said, if you're doing this 80% of the time, you're doing great. I was not. I was in the other 20 yesterday.
So how do we prepare?
Okay, so both of those things are great, but if you're not ready to make changes, you're not going to. So this is where that mindset that work comes in, that inner work comes in, that introspection, journaling. And for me, this last piece, people love it or hate it. You got to look at your calendar. If you want to change your health habits, you want to make sure you want to go to walk outside 4 days a week. How about let's start with 2 days a week, right? We want to get out. We want to get walking. We need to get moving anyway. And most of us need to move more. But then you look at your calendar and you go, well, where the heck am I going to fit this in? Right? Maybe this is not the week. Maybe this week is too busy with stuff that you've already committed to. Maybe you've got stuff on the calendar that just needs to go. And so looking at that, so this is part of the preparation, is really looking into and doing something at the right time for you. Waking up one day and going, okay, today's the day I'm going to start. But you've got, you've got something every day that keeps you from focusing on it. That's not really going to help. The one thing I do kind of warn people against, when they say, okay, this is a busy week. Oh, well, next week is kind of busy. We're always going to be busy. And so it can actually work against you because something's always going to come up, and that's okay. But if we look at our calendar and start plotting in where we want to focus on our new goal, half an hour, we're going to walk for half an hour, plot it in your calendar and make it a non-negotiable. I make those, like, my non-negotiables are in orange. It's kind of like, it's a shocking color, and, I see it and I know that it is absolutely a non-negotiable on my calendar. Nobody can book anything at that time, including me.
Right. And that's the most important part, including you.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's easy to do things, but you'll note it. But I say you, but it's really me asking for a friend, that you're, you make these things on your calendar, but then somebody goes, well, do you have time for this? And because it's for somebody else, it's easy to take your thing off and put their thing on. But it's important to know that your thing is just as important.
Right. And that's a conversation about boundaries.
Right.
Maybe that's another conversation we have down the road.
Mhm.
Because you're right, you're allowing at that point, you, we, me too.
Mhm.
If we're allowing other people to, kind of break those boundaries, then we actually don't have any boundaries. And that's actually kind of what caused us to get where we are today.
Sure. And that goes back to the prioritize. I love these 3 Ps: that plan, prioritize, and prepare, and making sure that we figure out what's important and put the steps in place. And the 30,000 foot view is really, really key to all this, so that you're not stuck dealing with these little details. And it is just making those changes on those larger things that can create a butterfly effect for the smaller things.
Right. And, you can get into the minutia of it once you have this overarching kind of plan and structure.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. And we'll look forward to August. When August comes around, I can't believe we're talking about August now, but thank you so much for this, Denise, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good, even though it's not a great day here, but outside. But a good day to be in.
You're welcome. So I'm going to read a little bit of your bio and then we'll get started, because your bio is oodles of fun. So Sue Berman, by the way, introducing Sue, and she is a seasoned attorney with her own law practice, focusing primarily on residential real estate. And she's previously worked for a national title insurance company in the real estate departments of several large boutique law firms. That is sort of fun, but that's not the real fun part. Here comes the fun part. So she learned to ski as an adult after realizing that family vacations would be boring sitting inside all day, and more recently took up golf. Raised in a flat Midwest as an adult, she discovered her love of the mountains and hiked in Peru, Machu Picchu, and surrounding areas, Patagonia. It's funny. I always say as a joke, because I live in California, Yosemite, so I have to like Yosemite, because Yosemite, Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, Arizona, and the Rockies in Canada, Colorado, and Utah. And she's added a few rafting adventures into the mix. And she's also a member of Epwing Networking Group, and that's where we met. And so I'm really excited to talk about this, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your business. And then I really want to talk about the outdoors piece too, because in the transition to getting outdoors. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you do what you do and what makes you special.
So I started off as a lawyer doing real estate, and then I was in law firms and doing commercial real estate, and then residential, excuse me, was a little piece. Obviously, people buy and sell homes. So when I left on to go on my own, I realized that residential real estate, it wasn't so much what I always wanted to do, but it was something I could do as a solo, and I had the skills to do it. I had been working on a large condo project. And so I kind of finished doing some of those sales, and that really got me off. And then I just started doing it. I realized I like working with people. It is for most people, the biggest financial decision situation they're going to be in their lives. And people trust me, and that's a good feeling. It's a scary feeling, but you're essentially helping people move on to a new stage of life, or move from a new stage of life. I always say my practice is cradle to grave. I am not Costco, but it's kind of like Costco. We do the whole thing. I did a closing yesterday for a young couple in their mid-20s, and I had done closings for the grandparents and the parents and the cousins.
Wow.
And the 8th, 9th, or 10th closing I'd done for this extended family. And it's just super nice to know that people are moving into a home. You're helping them. It's a very, very stressful process.
Mhm.
And the paperwork involved, and now since COVID, the negotiations and all the minutia that goes with it, it's a really nice feeling to help people through that process, because there are just pitfalls and landmines all over the place.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm doing now.
And
And
it is so complicated. You think, well, I'm just going to go buy a house, and it seems so simple, but behind the scenes there are so many pieces that just one little piece can throw a wrench into the whole works.
right. And it changes all the time. It's constantly changing. Like a new issue came up across the board about a month or two ago. And now on every matter I handle, I have to inquire about this particular aspect. And 3 or 4 years ago, people probably didn't care about it. Why?
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe they've had more problems with it. But you also have to have peripheral vision. You have to look out and see, okay, I know what I'm doing now, but what's coming down the road? What is the new potential problem that I need to head off? So the paperwork, my engagement letter and my emails to clients get longer and longer all the time, because I'm always adding new things.
Mhm. And that's also challenging for you, but it keeps it from mundane, because there's so many changes, and you have to be on the forefront of everything, because you are why it closes well.
Right. And it, like I said, it's people trust me. It's a lot of pressure.
Mhm.
It's feeling that if I do this, it's nice. I will say that there are a lot of things along the way that don't get done perfectly, that it's not a fatal error. A lot of times things just have to close so quickly.
Mhm.
Maybe the seller didn't quite clean up the way they were supposed to. And I look at my client and I say, do you really want to hold up the closing for this? You have all your stuff on the moving truck. It's going to cost you a couple $100 to fix this. Do you really want to stop this whole closing to do that?
Mhm.
Or the lender will have a requirement that, okay, you may not want to do this, but you kind of have to do it because you need to get this loan. So I also manage things, what's important and what's not important. And you come to realize, like everything else in life, you can spend, it's like picking out clothes in your closet. You can spend 80% of your time on whatever. Is that important? Is that the best use of my time? Is that really going to stop this deal from closing?
Mhm.
So you also have to prioritize. I'm stealing something from you, Denise. You have to prioritize. And I always ask clients, what's your A list? What's your B list? Who has the power in this transaction? Because if you're a buyer and the seller has 6 offers, I can't nitpick stuff.
Right.
I can't do that. And the client understands that, but you still have to explain, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, because then you're going to lose the house and it's really not worth it.
Mhm. And it's important to have somebody that's knowledgeable to coach people through this process, because whether you're buying or selling, it's a very emotionally packed event. And so there's expectations that are there, and it's for the person whose transaction it is, there's a lot on the line.
Right. And the worst thing is of all is post-closing 6 months later, you get a call from a buyer or seller. And I cringe when I get those calls. It's like, well, the air conditioning doesn't work. Well, this. And then I've had sellers, represented sellers where, the buyers came back to them and wanted some adjustment post-closing. And those are scary phone calls to get.
Mhm.
And most of the time it's not anything horrible. It doesn't lead to litigation. But unfortunately, in our society, we all have to be aware of that. I mean, you guys, I don't know how much you deal with it, but part of what I do is I try to keep the client clean. I try to keep them out of being sued or having to sue somebody. So, and I think, Jean, we're in a networking group together. There are a couple people in there I'll call and I'll run a question by them. like, what do you think I should do? Or what is the likelihood this is going to turn into litigation? I need other people. I need tax people.
Mhm.
I need, there are different, sometimes I need corporate people to set up an LLC or to say, what documentation do I need? So that's behind the scenes.
Mhm.
That's the other thing I have to do. We don't live in a silo here. I have a team of people. So you also have to know when to make those phone calls.
Right. It's important to have resources in any business that you're in, but especially as an entrepreneur, it's important to know that you have resources. So let's take a little side trip for just a second. Let's talk about Epwing for a minute, because I'm fairly new to Epwing. And so give the listeners just a little tidbit about what Epwing is about, because the resources within this networking group, I think, is phenomenal. And what every person brings to the table and the attitude that they show up with is so welcoming. So give us a little ad for Epwing.
So you're in the national part. So it started off local in the Chicago area.
Mm-hmm.
City, the north suburbs, northwest. Denise, again, I'm stealing your little quadrant. West suburbs. And it was women entrepreneurs, women business owners. So we had loan people. I'm a real estate lawyer. We had real estate agents. We have tech people. We have therapists. We have attorneys who do divorce, who do special education needs. Health and wellness. Executive coaches, financial planners, college counselors. Really, the only core requirement is you have to be a woman, and it's not necessarily you have to be a business owner, because there are plenty of people who work for somebody else. But you have to be kind of independently minded, and both have a need to reach out to other people and be a resource for other people. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I'm setting up a website, and I'm using a woman from the networking group. Mm-hmm. Because when I decided to set up this website, I had tons of people who wanted you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And she was the one who understood when I said, I'm not trying to be number one in SEO. I just want something people can go to my website, see I'm legitimate, and boom, that's it. And she said, you're right, that's what you need. So here's what I recommend. So hopefully in the next week, or actually I have a call with her. So it's people like that. It's somebody when I have a tax question, when somebody has a tax question for me, when somebody has a conflict and they can't handle it. That's really what it is. It's people from different areas. I do think they limit the people in each area because they don't want everybody being a college counselor,
right? Or
everybody being a physical therapist. So it's nice because you have all these, we probably do have a lot of attorneys, but they limit it by area. There's estate planning. So that, and we have both in-person meetings and events and online. When I was actually the chairman of one of the committees during COVID, and our committee was planning events. Well, that all got scrapped, but we ended up doing some virtual, we had like a trivia night. I think maybe we had like an outdoor, because I just learned to play golf. We had a golf, and then everybody else came for happy hour, and it was outside, so we could do that. We had all kinds of, like wine tasting and events like that. So it's part social and part networking.
And one of the great things that came out of COVID is the ability to work virtually. And that's what, as you mentioned, I filter in through the national virtual meetings, or there's virtual meetings every month. And it really is very welcoming. And it's nice to know that even though, many people are in the Chicago area and I'm in California or I'm in Maine, it's still applicable for resources for me. So it's really a fantastic, we can put a link to Epwing in the show notes as well. And, sure. But I wanted to give a little advertisement and a blurb because, I felt very welcome the first time I showed up. So I thought it's fantastic. And so now as you're building your business, and how long have you been on your own in business?
Oh, many years.
A long time.
Overall, it's been over 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your outdoor activities have really started a little bit later in life. Is that right?
Right. I mean, I learned to ski when I was 40, because having three little kids, and my husband would take one and then he would take two, and then the third one learned to ski, and he's like, I'm outmanned here. I just can't do it. You know, you have to come with me. And if I didn't learn to ski, what was I going to do all day?
Right.
So I took ski lessons, and I didn't realize, now I know. We were in Jackson Hole, which is, when I tell people I learned to ski in Jackson Hole, they're like, what? That's like the hardest mountain in the United States. I'm like, well, I didn't know. I didn't know. So it's something we do as a family. Our family has gravitated towards outside activities. We're not, I don't want to offend anybody, but we're not real beach people.
Mhm.
We're not real, we like to do things. And I think I mentioned I have a daughter who lives in the Bay Area, and she
Mhm.
goes up to Tahoe. Like, they go up all the time, and it's so close. She has access to it. So that was just a vacation we all liked. Maybe we liked it because we'd all ski all day and then sleep early at night. Nobody could fight. Everybody was too
It's
tired.
too tired to fight.
Yeah. or to, like, what's for dinner? I don't care what's for dinner. I just want food. And then Denise, incorporating what you have, that changed a lot of our eating habits too.
Mhm.
Because when you're out all day, you know, you can't eat junk food and that kind of stuff and sustain. And then we really fine-tuned this to the nth degree. We started renting condos and bringing our own food, and the first stop was the grocery store. Okay, Denise, we are so in sync here. And then we started taking our lunch to the mountains, because we got tired of waiting in line, you know,
Mhm.
$30 bowl of chili. And you just get in and out so much faster. I'd rather spend my time eating than staying in line. And we'd have these really healthy meals, and then we go out and ski again and not feel bloated and not feel, you know, over or whatever. And yeah, I mean, we all had the hot chocolate and all, you know, all the good stuff. But when we could buy our own food and make our own snacks, it was a smoother process for us, because we didn't have to wait, stop, and then everybody could do what they wanted. We call it everybody for themselves.
Right.
You know,
and you're better fueled. We used to do that with our kids when they were little too. We'd head to it was a 2.5 drive to the mountain. And so we'd all get up 0 dark 30, right? Pack in the car. It's freezing cold, and drive to the mountain, and then ski all day and pack our food. And then our son, by the time we got off of the access road, sound asleep. Sound asleep. So, but it's fun to have an activity like that as a family. And I skied, but I learned to snowboard because I wanted to, because our kids were, right?
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it is that trying to keep up with the Joneses, which happen to be your kids.
Right. I'm not. I think we had one snowboard accident with a broken wrist or something, and I think we're all done with that. But it is a fun activity to do with our kids. Last year it was so funny. I was on a run, and I heard, you know, you're skiing down the mountain. I heard this mom, and I was getting really annoyed, and I almost turned around and said, like, why is anybody calling mom on the mountain? I turned around, it was my daughter. Like, oh my God, I was so embarrassed. But you know, it is fun to do with your kids, with the family. And the other nice thing about it is everybody can go their separate ways. You don't all need to be together to do everything
all the time, right?
And if somebody wants to come in early, there's plenty of places you can go and hang out. And as my kids have grown up, they now go with their friends and do their own things. And I just think, you know, I know a lot of people, for whatever reason, can't do it, don't want to do it. But you find what you like. You find what works for you. And so for some people, it is a beach vacation. We all get, I don't want to offend anybody, we kind of get bored to tears on beach vacations, because none of us can sit all day.
Right. So definitely being more active. So what was hiking in Peru like?
So that was kind of a nightmare because we didn't do the typical, it's lovely there. It's beautiful. We had a little bit of a problem in that there was a teacher strike. And when the teachers go on strike, everything shuts down. And I'm not kidding. It's like a 2-hour train ride to Machu Picchu.
Mm-hmm.
The strike was such that people went out and they picked up the train tracks. And on the way, they would put big boulders in the road with barbed wire
Wow.
and put gasoline on them.
Oh my.
So we had a window. Our guide woke us up at like 3 a.m. and said, we have a half an hour to get out of here. And if you don't get out of here in a half an hour, you're not going to be able to go to Machu Picchu.
Wow.
So we were in a van with 6 or 7 other people, and we drove up a mountain for like 6 or 7 hours. I will not import the details of how sick I got on that ride.
I can't imagine.
I say I got really sick. So after the 5 or 6 hours, then we walked another 2 or 3 hours along an abandoned railroad to get to Machu Picchu. So by the time we got to Machu Picchu, we got there at like 4 o'clock. We immediately fell asleep. The next day was Machu Picchu. So that's my lead into that. That was fantastic. You obviously there's a altitude.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just go to Machu Picchu. Any reputable guide will tell you you've got to be there 3 or 4 days first
to acclimate.
So it was beautiful. And I did not go on the extended hike from Machu Picchu. My daughter did. And I think she barely made it back because of the oxygen levels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are for super duper hikers that are, like they work out every day and do all this stuff. So it's beautiful there. We had a little bit of a different wind up to being there, but it was just, we've been to South America a few times just because our kids have done some study abroad and lived there.
Mm-hmm.
And, we always learn about Europe and it's so beautiful, but I think South America is kind of the undiscovered beauty. Really, if you want raw beauty, that's it. That's
what an incredible experience as a family too.
Yeah, we weren't. I mean, there were times
it's never okay. So there's a little caveat here. It's never perfect, but when you turn around, when you're all done, you go, "Wow, this is great." Afterwards, you can't remember how bad it hurt when it's really that wonderful. It's like having kids.
Oh gosh. And then to get to your, I want to go back to something Denise brought up. So we did another trip last year, and we were in Southeast Asia, and I will tell you that my eating and dietary habits changed 360. If there was ever a point in my life I can point to and say, this was a turning point, that's it. Everything there is the original farm to table. Everything there is natural. Everything there is literally from the ground. I don't care if it's fish or vegetables. And since I've been back, that's it. That's been my eating, is the fresh fruits and vegetables. And I was never a big red meat eater, but if there's anything that really changes your life, it was that experience in my dietary.
How did it change for you?
For me?
How does it feel differently? I think this is a great thing to talk about and how important it is. And did you notice a change, or what's different for you?
Well, we were on the go there. It was so hot. Oh my God. It was just, we have no idea what hot is. Just incredibly hot. And you can't eat heavy meat there. I don't eat pork. I don't eat a lot of red meat. So I didn't have a choice. I had, there's mango, there's the fruit. The breads are very different. They're much lighter there. And when I came home, I was like scrambling, like I have nothing to eat, nothing I can eat. So I was going to Trader Joe's and getting, the frozen mango and try to get more fruits and vegetables. And cheeses and, everybody needs protein.
Mhm.
So I have to get my protein from somewhere. But I really, you don't need to eat these big heavy meals to get your nutrition. I mean, I could probably do a little better on the protein.
Mhm.
But I just felt like when I go out to dinner, it just, my eyes are looking at the menu, like what could I eat here? I am a more picky eater, and sometimes it's not fun to go out with me. But
But it is interesting how a life event like that, or an activity, can really change. You can bring that home with you and change your relationship with food in a positive way.
for sure,
Definitely a positive way. So how did, one of the things that I want to talk about too is how COVID and working remotely. So when I talk to a lot of people that are self-employed and COVID comes and they can work remotely and then they have more free time to do things. And like Denise was talking about, it's easier to set time in your calendar to go for a walk because you're just working from, not just, but you're working from home, or your calendar is more flexible. But for you, a lot of what you do is in person, isn't it?
right. And just to be clear, I've always worked from home. So I was the OG working from home. And when we redid our house 20 years ago, we actually, I was ahead of my time there. We put in 4 home offices. My girls' rooms, I don't like furniture shopping, so I'm like, okay, we're just gonna like build in a desk and cabinets and a desk.
Mhm.
And then this goes way back to the days when we had one computer at home.
Yes,
We need a
tower.
family computer in a central place.
Right.
So we built out a little office, and then I built an office where I am. So we do have 4 built in. So I always work from home, and I always felt a need to either go to closings because that's where you meet people. I mean, you want to see people in person,
Mhm.
and it's for networking. Your clients want to see you, the brokers want to see you, everybody wants to see you. And then during COVID, people stopped going to closings. I mean, it was to the point where the title companies wouldn't let people in.
Oh,
And
wow.
they did these things called drive-by closings. I know it sounds weird, but you would like, I wasn't allowed to go. So if I had a buyer client, they would stay in their car, wear a mask, call the title company. They would come down with a clipboard, get the client to sign, zoom, notarize it, and send the client on their way. So
Oh,
the
my.
only people in the room were the title people. So the first year we really didn't go anywhere because we were actually skiing when COVID broke out. So we came home. And so the second year I'm like, well, if I don't have to be here, nobody cares what I'm wearing, where I am, what time it is. So then we started tiptoeing in that, pool of, okay, I can go somewhere else. And that's how we started talking. I think I was getting ready to just come back. But, it's either going to see your family or to see your kids, or just to go for a day trip somewhere. But as long as you have a computer and access, and I was so scared. I was so afraid to tell my clients, I'm not going to be remote, da da da. And then they would find, oh, I'm gone for 3 months. I'm in Michigan for 3 months, or I'm in Florida for 3 months. So then it was like, well, if you can go, I can go too. Why do I need to be here? Now it's opened up a little more, so I'm very strategic about where I go. And if, like yesterday, for these people, I really needed to be there in person. I could have done it not being there, but it was an important client to me. I'd done a lot of work for this family. I wanted to be there. So I usually know my schedule far enough in advance. Closings are scheduled anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks out, so I can plan. And if I can't be there, I tell everybody up front. I have a computer. I work out the time difference. I do have to be careful because I am licensed to practice in Illinois. I'm actually licensed to practice in Georgia, but I have to be careful. I don't want to spend 7 months in a place because then I might, I don't want to have an ethical violation of not.
Right. You have to pay attention to your location while you're doing business. Totally get that. But it is interesting how there's this, in the beginning, there's this almost guilt feeling about not sitting in your office doing the thing that you can do anywhere else. And a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of people have felt that, but you don't really, that's why I wanted to touch on it, because you don't really hear people talking about it. And I think it's a real thing, because we can't, if we have the physical ability to work remotely, it's okay.
And some people call it time shifting.
Hmm.
You can label it however you want, but to Denise's point, if I'm going to go for a walk, I have a little more flexibility. Like I don't pencil in this is when I'm going to go, because if I have something to do. But if I say I'm going to go for a 20-minute walk today, here are the 3 times I can go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll pick a time, or maybe I don't get to go till 5 o'clock, or maybe I do in the winter have to go to the indoor walking track. But I think if you can try to, I call it penciling in a lot of these things and do what you need to do. But to me, it's more time shifting. I can work in the morning. I can work at night. Nobody cares when you draft a document. I can draft it at 10 o'clock at night and send it to somebody at 8 o'clock in the morning. They don't care. I am, I do have my phone with me. I don't care where I am. My phone is with me. And I need to respond. My business is very competitive. So if I don't take that call, or I say I'll call you back tomorrow, that client may be gone. I can't afford, nobody wants to do that. So I am one of those people that you hate, because I do have my phone with me. I don't always pull it out in public, but you find a quiet time or a quiet place.
I get that. I always have mine as well. And, you can choose to take a call or not, or, some days, Sunday, I made a choice because I needed to go help somebody, and I went to go, I love the time shifting words. I time shifted. It's like shape shifting.
Yeah, and
I time shifted on Sunday because I knew that there was somebody that I needed. And if I didn't go on Sunday, it was really going to cause, it just needed to get done at the right time. And it worked well for both of us. So do I work on Sundays? No. Was that really work? Not really. I went to help her do some things, and it didn't really take a ton of time out of my day, but it also gave me the ability to not have to squish it into the rest of the week, so that I could have some flexibility to be outside.
And one of the bad habits I've gotten into, and this is a really bad habit, maybe you both have some suggestions, is I do work on the weekends. And I do a lot of my paperwork on the weekends, because during the week it's a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails. I got to respond. I got to give me this document, give me that document. You got to review this. So I tend to do some of my paperwork on the weekends, and I need to figure out a way, because that's time shifting kind of in a bad way.
Right. Yeah.
That I'm tying up my weekends, and I need to work my way out of that. So I'm more productive during the week.
Yeah. And I think we all have that challenge too. And so if you had to give anybody some tips about either transitioning to working from home or incorporating these fantastic trips while still working, what kind of tips could you give to people to consider?
Well, first, I realize I'm lucky to be able to do this. I'm lucky to be in a profession to do this, and just to be able to do it in general. I mean, if you're a healthcare worker, that's not an option. If you're a teacher, that, certain professions, it's not an option. I think you have to be in a profession that it's accepted to do that. It's not accepted everywhere. I mean, I'm also a little bit technically challenged, and there are times when I'm like, oh, but for the grace of God, my computer didn't blow up, or I didn't mess something up. So, you have to have the right technical tools. And I also have a very patient, understanding family. When I tell them, like, be quiet, like, you have to go out. And I guess I hadn't really thought about it that way. I mean, when I set up my business, I got a computer, I got a printer, I got a fax, I got all these things. But remote, you basically need a computer, and people who really understand, if I don't need to be there in person, there are a lot of people who tout, I'm there in person, I'm there in person. And I'm not going to compete with that because I can't be there in person. Sometimes you just can't be.
Mhm.
One of the good things about COVID was I would do 4 or 5 closings in a day, or I never could have done that had I pre-COVID. I had to go to every place, or I was doing closings in some remote suburbs of Chicago that normally I would have had to have a surcharge, a trip surcharge, and the client would have said, no, forget it, I'll find somebody else. So I was able to do that. So, I mean, for me, I can't really put my finger on a particular tool other than computer, a good case for your computer, and lots of cords so you can so you can back up.
So you are in the Chicago area, and do you primarily do business with people in the Chicago area or anywhere in Illinois? Where can people, if people need a real estate attorney, where's the best place for them to be located to find you?
Right. So the real estate has to be in Illinois.
Mhm.
So I'm licensed to practice in Illinois. In the Chicago metro area, it keeps growing. There are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 metro counties, however many you want to count. That is my bread and butter. I have been asked to do things in downstate or some remote counties of Illinois. The issue with that is I don't know the customs and practices there.
Mhm.
I do know the custom and practices here, or I have somebody who can get that for me. So many of my clients are not local because they're selling, a parent may have passed away or may go into assisted living, and I work with their son or daughter. People move to Florida, people move to California, people move to Tennessee. I'm doing a matter right now for a woman who moved to Florida years ago, and she decided to sell her condo. So she's in Florida, and you have to ship the papers back. Now I can email her a package. She has to have a notary. That has to be what we call a wet signature.
Mhm.
So anybody, anywhere, but the property has to be in the Chicago metro area.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. And so where is the best place for people to find you?
So, thanks to my fellow Epwing
person. Yes.
I will have a website. I think it's www.sbermanlaw.com. That is coming online. We actually have a call Friday I keep saying we're going to finish it up, but then there's like, oh, one more tweak. And then, perfection can be your enemy sometime.
Mm-hmm.
I am on LinkedIn. I don't know if it's Sue E. Berman. I think it's Sue E. Berman attorney, the Chicago area. So those are the 2 places. Probably LinkedIn is a better place to find me. And I think we just connected. So
yes. Perfect. Well, Sue, I want to thank you so much for spending the time to talk with me today. And offline, I want to hear more about some of your hiking adventures too. So thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure having you and talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show is sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me, and if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.